G'day, mate. Welcome to the Friday Facts with me, and I've got Mojo here again.
Hello.
So this time we're going over the train GUI and the modern spitter.
You notice that there's theme going on with the modern something.
Yeah, it's the modern this and the modern that. Technically, this would be the modern train GUI and the modern train implementation and the modern train feature set, wouldn't it?
I suppose.
Maybe that makes the title a little bit too long to go on the official blog page. I don't know.
It doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah. So, first off, we've got a note from Coverex, and it's the FFF motivation. And this week's Friday Facts is a good example of how they serve not only the obvious role of informing the community, but also helping us to divide the work into smaller chunks with individual deadlines. As this Friday Facts was scheduled to be about the train GUI, we put special effort into finishing everything plain for the train GUI so it can be presented, and we can move on to another task, and 17 comes in reasonable time. Now, I have a feeling that might be a jab towards us, and potentially the other people that like, there's a couple of people now that do a Friday Facts video once a week. And
yes.
I have a feeling it might be a jab towards all of us. Because,
maybe.
You know, it's like, rather than having a project manager and this and this and this, we're like, what are we running on the blog this week? Well, that needs to be finished. All hands on deck. So
The question is it actually finished?
Well, because that's what they said last week. It's like, you know, these other things that even though we've written about them in the blog, they're not actually finished, but they're on their way. And that makes me wonder about the train GUI as well. Are these finished or are these mock-ups? Even though we had a mock-up for the train GUI in Friday Facts 2.12, which was promised to us in version 16. And we didn't get it. And I was actually really disappointed.
I'm actually checking that now.
Yeah, go for it. Friday Facts 2.12.
Oh, yeah, that was the mock-up.
Yep, there was a mock-up, and it was promised to us, and we didn't see it. But yeah, the train GUI. The train schedule is one big list with all stations and conditions are all visible, so you don't need to click through the list box of individual stations to see the conditions, which is a nice... I guess it's a nice little feature.
Yeah.
I'm sort of used to like one window being the list of stops and the other one being all the conditions, and it sort of works. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, it's very quickly gonna lead to a slider bar condition, where I'm gonna have a very long list of all the different train stops with all the different conditions, because some trains can have some pretty involved conditions that I need to slide up and down to have a look at everything.
That was the thing that was immediately concerning me because... Well, it was the immediate thing that stood out for me was because you got two... In the first picture, there's two train stops there, and it's already fills half the...
Yeah,
half the available window.
So yeah, that's I guess my I don't know, critique. So yeah, this is a preview. Oh yeah, we won't know until we actually get our hands on to play with it. So yeah, this is a preview, I guess, of the supposed implemented GUI that is not a mock-up. And I like it, but I'm just worried about how much space it's going to use. But they now officially tell us about the drag and drop feature, which actually exists in 16, and we were told about in that Friday Facts, what was it, 2.12?
Yeah.
Yep, we were told about it in 2.12, but it didn't make it to version 16. Well, the drag and drop did, but the nice GUI didn't.
GUI didn't. So the functionality was there.
The functionality is there.
Well, actually, the functionality really hasn't changed that much. It's just the visual part that's changed.
Well, we've got the drag and drop, which I have to admit, it was a feature that was really missing from previous versions, because like, if you want to add a train station halfway through, you need to delete all the other stations to then add it, to then re-add any more, any of the stations you've just deleted, because there was no...
You could insert.
You could insert by clicking in the right spot.
It would always insert below, though, which was a problem.
Below, yeah. And if you click the wrong one, you might have to re-add it twice, which I screwed up all the time. Drag and drop makes everything perfect. Just, wrong spot, drag it up, done, solved.
I'm actually curious to see how that performs in multiplayer. Because drag and drop multiplayer in 16 currently is quite janky.
Well, surely it only sends the the dropped condition to the server once you let go of the mouse.
Yeah, but because of the latency states, if it's particularly high, if it's even moderately high, it doesn't change until it's gone to the server and back again, until it's synchronized with everyone.
Yeah.
You can drag it, then nothing, and then it changes.
Well, they did go over latency in an earlier Friday Facts, and that's again something I'm curious about when we actually see it in 17, because we're both Australians, so we're used to playing on what a lot of other people consider high latency, but most servers we both play on are hosted in either the EU or the US, so we're sort of used to playing with that sort of latency.
300 millisecond delay.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you play on an AU server. Things are entirely different.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's now we got drag and drop, and people actually know about it. But more importantly, if you're listening to this Friday Facts now, there is drag and drop in 16. They just didn't tell you about it. Remember, go to your game and test it out.
Before TIL on Reddit, you could drag and drop.
Yeah, because I guarantee you somebody will post that this week. So weight condition visualization. One of the things I always missed about the train GUI was the indication of how much longer the train is going to have to wait in the station. After some discussions, we decided to give some visual feedback to all reasonable conditions by gradually changing the style of condition frame to green as it was a progress bar. The question is, how do we calculate the fraction of completeness for individual type of wait conditions? So elapsed time is obvious, inactivity time is obvious, inventory full, obvious, inventory empty, obvious. Item count is a little bit tricky. If the comparison bar is greater than or equal to, we just calculate the amount of that item and divide it by the goal. If the completion is anything else, I can't show a progress. As I know how far I'm from the goal, but I don't want to compare it to, so in this case, we just show it either completed all, not completed all, or fully completed. Fluid condition is the same as the item count, and circuit condition just shows nothing. And we've got a nice little mock-up here, which we're assuming is in the game, not a mock-up again. And it's plain and simple, and I like it.
Yeah, gets to the point.
Yeah, and it's a really quick, well, it's a really quick, easy way for the interface to inform the player, which probably took thousands of hours worth of coding time, but it's done, and I like the update personally.
Yeah, I as far as like apart from the concern that I had, it's otherwise a really good step forward in it. And improvement on what was there.
This one's just got full and empty. So this is you're pretty much your normal for like an outpost train. You know, go to the outpost, fill up with ore, go to the smelters, empty. And it doesn't fill up too much the window. So, you know, potentially you can fit probably 5 stations with simple conditions without too much hassle.
Yeah.
Not that I have many trains that go to 5 different stations with simple conditions, but, you know, if I did, it would eventually fill up the window after about 5 stations. But then we got a bit more complicated case, which is iron, plastic, sulfur, copper, plastic, sulfur, and iron is greater than 100. And we can see from the GUI very, very simply that everything's filling up except the copper, so we can use it to identify a problem very, very quickly. Which again, I like.
Yeah.
Because currently there's no way without either having the train in map view and being able to hover over the wagon, or physically travelling out to it to find out why a train isn't moving. Which is one of the reasons we now put radars everywhere.
Yeah. You have the radars just to see everything.
Yep. And then we got temporary stations. So this was again promised in Friday Facts 2.12 and was again promised for 16 and didn't make it, but now it's coming for 17. So the second most desired feature is a temporary station. The main motivation for them is the usage of trains for personal transport. When I want to do this, now I have to open the map, search for where I want to go, find the nearest station, remember the station name, enter the loco or pull it out of your pocket and drop it down, add that station by searching through the list to the schedule, confirm with some random weight condition, circuit condition greater than 0, I think it is the default one. press go to the station, and when it gets there, delete the station from the schedule again, or pick up my pocket train, because I've gone to Iron 23 when I wanted to go somewhere near that area, and I've either gone there to run on foot, or I've gone close enough to go to manual drive and hope not to run into anything along the way, which doesn't always work. With 17, we're going to have a temporary station support. So what I do now is enter the loco, any train, anywhere on the map, and find the place I want to go to on the map preview, and control-click the nearest rail or station, or to any piece of rail, and it'll set the train to go to that spot. Once the goal is reached, the station will automatically remove from the schedule. This means I can carelessly hijack any train passing by for my personal travel, and it will continue on the schedule when I'm done with it. I love it.
Yep.
It's also going to mean, we were talking about this before we started, that loop stations or loop trains are now going to be king. Because if you get on a train and it's a single-headed train going from A to B and you take it in the wrong direction entirely, it'll find somewhere to turn around and go back with its schedule without a problem. If you're using double-headed trains on a controlled track, there's a good chance it can't turn around and won't be able to go back to its normal schedule. So it's just made loop systems just that little bit better.
Yeah, it's really given it's changed the way you need to think about your layout of your train network.
Yeah, still no roundabouts. That's going too far.
Oh yeah, that's roundabouts were never something you should.
Roundabouts are great if you want to find dead trains on the track because they cut themselves off.
Yes.
Literally.
Or to trim your trains down to size.
Yeah. Either have a bigger roundabout or a shorter train. It's always one or the other. But yeah, it's now going to mean loop systems are going to be the winner.
If you want to get around.
Yeah, it's going to change, I guess, a way a lot of us play. Because, like, I'm happy to do both. You're currently doing loops on both your bases, aren't you?
The both have a mixture.
So you've gone a bit of both.
Yeah, the Factorio extended one, it needs it for the ore trains particularly.
Okay.
Just for the sheer ridiculous, because they're for 16 cargo wagons.
Yeah, they're massive.
And you start getting a significant UPS train having because you start needing 4 extra engines, which becomes pretty significant
over lots and lots of trains. And like,
yeah,
Video Game Geek and Exterminator both running double-headed trains. Colonel Will's is a real big fan of a double-headed train. Neelaus, I'm trying to think Neelaus.
He's single-headed. Doesn't roundabout though.
Oh yeah, because I remember his city blocks maps, right? So yeah, the community at least we deal with is sort of split fairly 50-50. They either do one or the other, or they're a bit like you and me and don't mind doing both.
I do what the situation demands.
Yeah, pretty much.
It always has.
But I'm definitely a fan of using loops for all through smelting stations because you need that higher throughput. But then elsewhere on the map, double-headed trains sometimes works because of how tight things end up getting built to one another. Just because it's Factorio, it doesn't matter how much space you need. You leave, it's probably not enough. So yeah.
It's all derived from Transport Tycoon, so the whole train system was derived from Transport Tycoon, so all the Transport Tycoon rules.
Yeah. And I vaguely remember Transport Tycoon. The Modern Spitter. So in the animation below, you can see the new high-res splitter, walking in 3 levels. As you can see, we took chance to work a bit different, the same concept as before, but integrating some new details, in my opinion, makes them more interesting. So,
certainly interesting.
Yeah, certainly interesting. Right? I'm curious if they're actually going to have 3 different movement speeds.
So am I. I mean, you got your the slowest tier of splitter is running away very fast, and then your highest tier of throughput splitter is moving the slowest.
Yeah, it's sort of reversed to the belts.
Yeah.
Hang on, does that mean the littlest one can run up a blue belt, whereas the biggest one you just need to put yellow belts, and that'll slow them right the way down?
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. We kept the modular shell due to the familiarity with the biters. The same way the biter moves a bit closer to a spider concept, the spitters are going to be more woodlouse or a small centipede. The point is it's flexible at the same. Its flexibility at the time of shooting. They also shoot far away from the target, so there's no need to look specifically strong or agile. And then we get the pretty animation of the spitter doing the spitty part.
Yeah.
And
I can't help but notice it's doing 3 different spits.
It is. And like little one, massive one. And
yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe they actually get like a choice of 2 different attacks, a little attack and a big attack.
Maybe.
But its funny thing is, it says the biters move a bit closer to a spider concept. But if you actually go back and look at that Friday Facts, they say cockroaches. And personally, the biters remind me more of a roach than they do of a spider.
I was wondering that where the spider thing came from.
And a woodlouse or a small centipede. I get centipedes. Supposedly woodlouse live over in Mojo Land.
Those things.
Those things, yeah.
Oh yeah, you sometimes find them outside. In winter.
Yeah, see,
I remember.
It's the sort of thing I remember occasionally if you pick up a rock, but apart from that, yeah.
You turn over something in a sort of damp area outside, and it's usually, for it to be damp, it'd usually be winter, and then
you find one of those little things. So, new spitter. The classic design of spitter is based on the idea that they shoot from some height in order to bypass the walls of your factory with their acid spits. Now when shooting they stand up as before, but for walking they use all the legs. I sort of like it, I sort of don't.
Yeah, I wasn't quite about it originally, but it does make sense, and I think the reason why I don't is because it's the familiarity problem. We're so familiar with the old spitters, we don't like the change.
Good biters are dead biters, pretty much where it comes down to.
Oh yeah, there is that.
Yeah, they also say we added the big mouth claws that open and close when spitting to give it better expression. Good biters are dead biter. It's pretty much where it falls for me. And then we go on to their attack. So they've also changed up how spitters and worms attack, which I actually think is going to have more impact on combat than probably anything else.
This is a big deal.
It is. So with the new high-resolution worms and also spitters, their projectiles start to look even more out of place than before. On top of that, homing acid projectile makes about as much sense as a homing laser beam, which brings up a laser's not going to home in 17.
Well, they're continuous beam in 17.
But do they track perfectly?
Well, presumably they would, being a continuous beam.
But can they track as fast as a biter at super speed can run across in front of them? That's what I'm curious about. I guess it's one of the things we'll find out in 17. We weren't quite sure we were quite sure we wanted worms and spitters to spit acid, but close to how the flamethrower stream attack behaves. So we started with that. So as you can see, currently in the current game, we've got homing versions.
Yeah, we've got the homing projectile.
That doesn't quite home forever. In 15, it homed
in 15
forever.
it was given a limit.
Was it 15 that it got a limit, or 16 it got a limit? I thought it was 16.
15, I think, because it was the combat update.
It was.
I'm pretty sure in 14, you could jump in a plane, fly over, and the projectile would follow you forever.
Yeah, you could have super legs with a mod and run all the way home, and then stand in the middle of your base and have all these spitter projectiles finally catch up to you 5 minutes later and kill you instantly. Because they've finally all caught up to you, like a bot does. So, for the new attack, whilst visually it makes more sense for the acid look much nicer thanks to the work of Dominic from the graphics gang, not the pipe programmer, and Emitus, The acid stream has a downside. It can be easily dodged. In fact, as long as you keep moving, the stream never hits you. Therefore, we added a predictive targeting to the stream. So worm spitters and flamethrower turrets can now hit the target unless it changes direction. It is still possible for the player to dodge it if they try, but with huge number of worms, it becomes a lot harder. Which actually means flamethrowers will actually not... Currently, they don't hit the first spider. Right?
Yeah, it always flies over.
Yeah, but then it lays waste to everything else charging in after him.
Sort of lays down... I always saw them as something that lays down an AoE damage field.
Yeah. So now... Flamers have followed the first target, which means there's a better chance that Flamers are going to be more effective for us. And we're going to hope biters stay stupid and don't dodge.
Although there's no word on that.
Well, there's large packs of them, so even if they dodge, somebody's going to get burnt. So when the target's too fast or the predicted position is out of range, the prediction is turned off. We'll probably tweak this so the prediction tries to go as close to the border of its range as possible. At some point, even the homing projectiles from 16 miss, so it's not that different. The threshold probably comes a little earlier though. When the acid stream hits, it creates an acid splash on the ground. The acid splash does damage to trespassers, currently not buildings, and applies a slow debuff. To make the effect less binary, so that instant halting as you get hit with acid, we added a tampering slow. At first it applies a lot of slowdown, but then linearly decreases over a few seconds till it disappears completely. All the worms had a large enough stream attack that it damages more than one building if they're next to each other. Spitters smaller than the behemoth do not possess this ability. So it's a bit of a change overall, and you can see V running across the screen. When he gets hit with the first lot of acid, he slows right the way down, and he starts to pick up more speed until he gets hit again. Yeah. So then we've got this attack. Now, I've got this video paused intentionally because in the top right-hand corner, and you've got to watch it carefully, there is a bit of spitter acid that just goes way off mark. All right?
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting. So V comes in here, does his damage, and there's this acid that goes way off to the top right-hand corner because he just happens to be traveling up for like 3 steps.
Oh, yeah, and the prediction says...
The prediction says that's where he's going to be, and it just goes way off mark. But yeah... So
I guess the saying, highlighting that it's definitely still possible to dodge, but you really got to work for it.
You've like 1 or 2, it's not that hard, and you can tell right here. Like he takes down a couple of behemoths, which require a couple of shots, and then everything else dies pretty quickly. So he's running uranium rounds. He's mowing through everything without too much hassle, throwing a couple of grenades to kill off whatever's left, and yeah, you can see spitters like missing by a mile. There's one that comes up, a small spitter that comes up right in front of him and then shoots like far out of the way. That guy shoots way to his south, just because that's the direction he was going to go. That's where it predicted he was going to go when it chose to fire, because he happened to be walking down for all of 2 tiles and went way overboard. But yeah, you can see with 1 or 2 spitters, easy to dodge. 5 or 10 gets a little bit harder. Not to mention the acid that they're going to leave on the ground. All you got to do is walk through it and you're going to get that debuff. So,
the obvious thing that I did notice is that there's 4 different sizes of worm.
4? Hang on.
In that video.
I didn't see 4.
In that clip.
I didn't see 4.
There's the smallest one on the bottom. There's a slightly bigger one at the back, behind the biter bait.
That definitely looks like a green worm. Yeah, that is.
The top one is the biggest.
That is.
And it's got a green tint.
Different types of worms. Turn off loop. Bring the play back. Yeah, so that's a small, a medium, a large, and a behemoth.
Yeah.
Wow! Finally, behemoth biters. Combat just got different.
Behemoth worms.
Behemoth splitters. The spitters, worms, the whole works. Yep.
Well, we already had the behemoth splitters.
Yeah, splitters. Yeah. So...
Yeah.
I wonder, is that going to lead at some stage to a behemoth spawner? Because, like, they don't level up.
No, there's just two types of spawner. There's
Yeah,
the
spitter and a biter.
one, spitter and biter.
Yeah, but like, isn't that obviously the next iteration that you have different level spawners that, I don't know, spawn faster, spawn more often, spawn bigger and better.
Oh dear.
Spawn spider bots. Oh, sorry, Scorpion Factorios.
Fish.
Yeah,
It's
no,
fish spawner.
yeah. So yeah, some details will still be worked on, but with all the changes combined, it should be more fun to attack biter bases. Don't know about fun, but interesting, we'll give you that much. If you're not a fan of combat dancing, you can just invest a little bit more into military technologies and win with brute force, which is entirely true. You can always get more bullet damage. No, more bullet... Is it damage or shooting speed? Damage. More bullet damage. You can't make your shields any better, but you can upgrade the personal laser defense now.
Yep.
Actually, shields probably need an infinite tech. Just saying.
For 6 shields, 6 Mark II shields, and
it's
generally you
it's
you
shields or
5.
legs. You can't have like run speed and shields and PLDs. There's a limit to that. To the Mark
Well, it's
II
a reasonable
armor
compromise. You can't be the fastest tank with the most firepower. You can't be DPS, health, and speed at the same time.
I disagree. I think the engineer that can launch 10,000 rockets off the planet should be able to have everything. But we've got mods for that at the end of the day. So, anything else? Any other thoughts on the Friday Facts, Mojo?
Nope, that's everything. Everything that I observed.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. 17 is going to...
It's a big one.
It is a big one. It's going to bring a lot of changes. And more importantly, they didn't give us a release date, so we're at least still 2 weeks out.
Yes. So Feb 30 still on the still on the table.
So I keep telling you it's Feb 29.
Either or.
Yeah, one or the other. All right, that's it from us. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.